I'm on Rune here with the team contemplation of Giant B-10. I'm going to basically list off my team and a few reasons and how to choose your monsters for Giants B-10. Basically, Giant hits has a counter move every 7 turns. So you want to make sure your monsters are really tanky enough to handle that, and also you need heals enough to heal him up. One of the best strategies I find is basically lowering his health bar and putting a lot of dots on him. So when he does go, or when he does get a chance to move, you're constantly DPSing him. He's not actually taking his actual turn. He's just doing his big giant counter move. And not really doing much too. To get to the boss, if you have trouble with that, then you're definitely going to have a lot of trouble at the boss. If you can't get to the boss, then you probably can't make it to the boss. On the way to the boss, you'll fight 4 rooms. It's your standard giant setup. First room, 3 golems, 2 crystals. Second room, 3 golem, a golem, 4 crystals. Next room, you have the giant golem and 2 crystals. 3 golems, 2 crystals, and it goes on until you get to the giant. At the giant, you have your 2 towers. A tower on the left is an attack buff. The tower on the right is a defensive debuff. Now, it's helpful to have immunity during this because that debuff is what's gonna, like, when that giant counterattacks, it's gonna kill your monster. So you definitely want to have immunity to get rid of debuff. So anybody with immunity, Fire Brownie, Windoudine, Burrow, all very viable characters or monsters for Giants B10. Just anybody with immunity or anybody who can get rid of any the debuffs on your monsters. As long as that you have that, you should be fine. Alright? So now that you got your immunity, you have 5 slots. So you have an immunity on 1 slot. Your second slot should be attack break, defense break, or a speed buff. A buffer. You definitely need a buffer. 1, you gotta be able to DPS everything in the dungeon, as well as you gotta be able to have the speed, damage, defense, or attack enough to kill the giant before he counters all your monsters and kills them. Now, you can auto B10 this way, but this is to make sure your team succeeds. Manual shouldn't have a problem with the counters. You can plan it out right. But, again, I don't even DPS the towers. I just go straight for the giant. Mainly because the towers don't damage you, it's not really much of a problem. And since they don't provide a much of an increase in support for the giant or deconstruction, and he's easy to break down, makes the giant a little bit easier. So now we have an immunity and a buffer. Next one I want to say you should have is an attacker or decreased attack speed, decreased attack bar, and dots. Dots is a big thing as well. One of those 3. You need to have the ability to decrease his attack bar, decrease his attack speed, and put dots on him. The reason why is so he doesn't take his turn. And if you do lose that monster, it would allow you to, when he goes and you have those dots on him, he immediately pretty much dies. Dots are going to be very helpful, so make sure you have a dot monster as an attacker. Make sure you have a healer. A healer is necessary for this because you've got to be able to maintain the health of your monsters while you're fighting that giant, because he will be doing his counters and he might manage to go a few times, and if he does, he will wreck you. So you got to make sure that you keep your monsters healed up, and it's helpful to get to the end of the dungeon. The last monster that you probably need is a buff snatcher or a buff debuffer for the boss. Buff C's, remove buffs, anything that basically removes buffs from the boss, allowing him not to have that attack bonus that he gets for 3 turns from one of the crystals. This will help. This will keep his damage low as possible. So when he does hit your monsters, he doesn't one-shot them. If you keep the defense break off and the attack buff off, you should be fine. As well as if you have a monster that has an attack break as well, and you're able to use it, then that'll be great. And that's your team. That's your basic team setup that I like to use. Now I'm going to show you my team. The team I use is Burrow, which is my immunity / also tank and also dots. So not only does he provide as a tank enough to take damage, but he also provides as a dot monster and can put dots, which is basically continuous damage, on a giant. He also acts as a tank in order to take all that damage when he needs to for the giant's hits. So, great monster. Also, his leader skill, giving all my allies 33% health, allows them to survive as well. My second monster is Bella. Bella provides a defense break, a seize, taking away that buff that he gets, as well as a heal and attack bar increase, allowing my monsters to move faster and be able to attack the boss more during the end fight. My third monster of choice is Chassin. Chassin's used for heals and a buff. It provides my monsters with an attack buff and a full heal when necessary, especially after a giant hit. That heal is going to come in very handy. My fourth monster is Hawa. Hawa is my attack monster. It may be fire, but she does damage. Her first skill allows her to do a slowdown and also can deal damage. So it slows down the giant, so the giant can't take his turn, and also decreases the attack bar. His second skill also decreases the attack bar and also puts dots on the giant. So these dots are going to be extremely helpful when you're doing Giants B-10, because by the time that giant manages to take his turn with Hawa, then he's pretty much toast. If you manage to lose Hawa along the way, it's still okay. As long as you can maintain team formation, you should be fine. I complete this. I do it about 20. I can do it about 20 times during the day normally. Usually I complete it about 19 out of 20. It's really 95% success rate on auto. So with this team, and my last monster of choice, Bernard. Bernard adds a speed buff and an attack bar increase, allowing your monsters to go extremely faster, a defense break, and an attack break. Bernard helps out by, during the boss fights, being able to break that giant's attack, allowing less damage to be dealt, and the healers not having to heal as much, but mainly the healers to focus on DPSing as well as needed, so your boss gets done a little bit faster. This is my team I use. I know some people, what they will do is have a really, really high attack speed. So instead of Burrow, instead of Burrow as the leader, they'll put Verde, which Verde is, whenever he crits, he adds increases the attack bar. So you're going so much to where the giant will never take a turn, and all you got to worry about is his counter. Also, his attack speed increases by 28%, making your monsters so fast that it's pretty much, you're going to wreck everything before they even have a chance to take their turn. So Verde is another valuable leader for Giants B-10. If you have Verde and don't have Hawa, then you should be fine. Another good one is Beretta. Now, I don't have a ruined or a good Beretta right now. I haven't focused Beretta yet. But Beretta, as a dot monster, can add up to 2 to 3 dots to a monster, and is also great for this. He also adds attack speed and also has a decreased attack bar move. So he's also great for this. And if you don't have Hawa, that's another one. Lumi is another good one. She has a full heal, a dots, and increased cooldown time, which allows that giant not to get one of the skills She also can increase the water monsters by 50%. She's not a very good leader, but she is very good to have in this dungeon as well. Some other ones you can take along if you can't succeed. Tryon's another one. Tryon has freeze, so this will allow you to get to the boss. But then again, he doesn't really have anything special about him at the boss because he can't freeze. He can't really do anything at the boss. Since he can't stun the boss. All he can do is really DPS the boss, and he could offset your count of how many attacks he does due to his first attack. So Tryon's great if you can't get to him, but other than that, he's still a good monster to have if you have 4 monsters that can DPS the boss by themselves besides him. But he's still useful at boss fight for dealing damage. Another good one you want to say, Windudine is another one. Windudine is Delphi. Delphi has immunity, heal, increased cooldown time, and decreased attack speed. This is a great monster. If you don't have Burrow and you need or Hawa, and you need that decreased attack speed or increased cooldown time and immunity. So this is another one. Also really tanky, and since it's wind too, also has an advantage over the giant. So that's another thing you can take into account there. As far as I know, I don't really use much of my other monsters for the dungeon. I did just get a Wind Archangel, so I'm leveling that one. That one would be useful as well against a giant. Its skills are absolutely amazing when fighting a giant. It has a heal 50%. It has a revive, which is great if you lose one of your monsters, as well as it has her skill allows you to basically take off the bus of the monster. So another great one to have if you don't have Bella or Chasen for heals and you need that great reviver. And that's only if you have a Wind Archangel. Another good one I want to say is Michelle. Now I do have her. I don't have her leveled. Let's see if I can find her. She's somewhere in my monster list. Oh, there she is. Michelle right here. Also known as the Wind Epic Caprice. A lot of people overlook this one, but this is a great noob monster that a lot of people have but don't overlook. Now, she can be really tanky and also has what's called backflow, decreasing the backflow and a revive. The revive is very helpful, especially if your monsters die. She also has like a little life gain, just make her really tanky. Don't really use her much for heal, but I would definitely use her for what's called or backflow. What it does is it basically lowers the countdown of debuffs. So instead of it being, if it's a 2-turn debuff, it's now 1 turn for all your monsters. So all they have to do is go and it's gone, as well as it buffs, if you put any buffs on it, increases it by 1 turn. So it goes up and down. So great for fluctuation, great monster in general. If you're a new player and you're trying to do a Giants B-10 for the first time, Michelle is a good one to level if you need to just get that monster that you need that slot for immunity or anything else like that. Chloe as well is good. I do not have a Chloe, so I cannot show you Chloe. Chloe's Invincible Shield, and also the Fill is great for Giants. As soon as you see that Giant about to cast his little counterattack or attack, you cast up Chloe's shield, perfect. Giant attacks, no damage. So Chloe is really good for giants as well. Some of the other ones are hard to tell. This one right here, Wind Ninja, also known as Orochi. There we go. Orochi's great. Orochi basically, what he does is he puts a lot of dots. He's weak in health and whatnot, but he's a great monster in general for giant farming. He can put dots on that giant like there's no tomorrow with his skills. He's fast, he's furious, and he can go to town with giants. I think giants is his favorite food, so make sure you feed him some giants sometime. But other than that, I think you guys should enjoy at least trying to farm. basically you want to work together. Again, make your team synergize with one another. Make sure they all work together with one another. Make sure you have each attribute that you need to get to the giant. Now, you don't have to have level 40 monsters to beat Giants B-10. You can do it with an all 35 team. Just make sure your runes are correct and stuff like that. And if you can't do Giants B-10, go a floor lower until you can do the floor neck below it. Work your way up. Don't try to jump into Giants B-10 right off the bat. You're not going to be able to do it. But this is my video on Giants B-10. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time.